Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to Life Made to Order, broadcasting live right here in Phoenix Business Radio X studios in beautiful Tempe, Arizona. We are your hosts, Wesley Henriksen.
And I am Trudy Kaiser with Life Made to Order Financial Phoenix. Life Made to Order is a way of life. It's a belief that each one of us has the power to orchestrate our ideal experiences in life, particularly in business and finances.
Our show will air each month and focus on local entrepreneurs that have used this philosophy to grow their businesses and be successful.
We're going to start each show by sharing our own Life Made to Order moments. Wes, would you like to start?
Yes, Susan and I have so much to be thankful for the support from our family and friends, along with the expansion of our business agents. We'd like to thank Derek Morgan for introducing us to Jacqueline Starks, which we look forward to our journey forward.
Awesome. I had a wonderful month. I got to go to Portland, Oregon, which I've never been to before. I'm going to tell you, it's beautiful there. I almost had a couple of accidents on the freeway looking at all of the trees and stuff. I know Megan's over there laughing at me right now, but it's true. I did. I was like, ah! And it's just so gorgeous and lush and, well, compared to here. You people know, right? So there's that. And then I got to spend some time with my son while I was there. I haven't seen him in 6 years, and it was really cool just to hang out with him. We didn't do a lot, just mostly ate and watched Ancient Aliens in the hotel, which was really cool. So, and then I got to go to Denver and hang out with some pretty cool people in Denver, the co-founders of our company, Five Rings Financial, who is, we're a Life Made to Order Financial Phoenix is a Five Rings financial agency. So it was really, really neat to go hang out with them and then come back home and apply what I learned and to our business here. So super exciting month for me as well.
We would like to thank our sponsor, Team Referral Network, Phoenix. Sponsorship opportunities are available. Please contact us at 602-418-1886 for more information. For our business owners and entrepreneurs out there, I have a question for you. What does your business look like? Is it where you thought it would be? Are you hearing sounds of success, or do you want to cry every night? Do you ever feel alone? Do thoughts creep into your head about wanting to give up? What can I do? I have tried everything to get a new client, and things just don't seem to be working out.
If your business doesn't feel like it's where it should be, if success doesn't look like what you thought it would, and if you're tired of thinking you're alone, then know there is a way to grow your business that will look and sound different. Most businesses can't afford a sales team, so we believe success happens when you allow yourself to join one. Team Referral Network is actively expanding in the Phoenix area. Go to teamreferralnetwork.com or call 858-229-8599 for more information.
Well, let's introduce our guests today. Our first guest, Meghan Adams with Arizona Foundation for Women, and Dan Salter with Dignity Memorial.
Welcome, you guys. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you. So, Meghan, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and the organization that you're with?
Sure.
Awesome.
So, I've worked for Arizona Foundation for Women for a little over 6 months now.
Oh, awesome.
I moved to Phoenix 2 years ago from another nonprofit. And I was just so happy to find this place. It was exactly what I was looking for. We're a small but dedicated team. There's 3 of us full-time staff, and then we have our full board, and we all just work really hard. So it's great to be a part of a team. And we like to say we rap to she. So we do research, advocacy, and philanthropy to ensure that women in Arizona are safe, healthy, and economically independent.
Fantastic.
And Dan, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am with Dignity Memorial. I've been a part of the Dignity Memorial family for 38 years. I've been in the profession for 49 years. Started with the company out in Florida and kind of worked my way this way. If you looked at my resume, it looked like a witness protection program. But, well, there again, I'm going to have to move, I guess. But
Yep, you've been outed, Dan.
I have. I outed myself.
You're on the radio now.
Yeah. We have a rather large footprint. As a matter of fact, Dignity Memorial is the world's largest owner and operator of funeral homes and cemeteries. We help families in their worst times and in some cases, some of their good times, but the immediate need families, those who've experienced a death, we obviously take that part of the job very seriously, and we help them through that. But we also help them to pre-plan for the inevitable. They say that the only two things that you don't have to do is, you have to do everything but die and pay taxes.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, we're not going to get out of this world without the one. And we help people pre-plan so that they're not having to deal with that on the worst day of their lives.
So, Meghan, what projects is your organization currently working on this summer?
So this summer, we are putting together our plan to launch a membership, which we don't have. So we're really excited about that. We're working at the levels, and we just want to find a way for people to stay engaged with us all year long. We have our awards luncheon, which sort of really limits our engagement to the spring whenever we have the awards luncheon. But we want to give everyone opportunities to keep up with us, see what we're doing, and get them involved with us. So we're going to have events, special member benefits. So we're really excited for that and what that's going to look like. We have a great team working on it. We're working with Javelina here in Phoenix. So,
nice.
Yeah.
What is Javelina?
So they are... Catherine Alonso, she used to put together political campaigns, and then she had a lot of nonprofits come to her saying, you've been really successful getting all this money for campaigns. Can you help out our nonprofit? And she eventually decided to try it, and she's had great success. So we're really excited to work with her. She's really great.
How do you spell that? Is that spelled Jav? Or
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Javelina.
Javelina.
Spelled just like it sounds, except
Yes.
with a J.
Yes.
And can you tell us about this awards luncheon that you have coming up?
Oh, yes. So it's actually our 25th anniversary this year. 2020 will be our 25th anniversary. So we're really trying to make sure it's a great event. And the awards luncheon, we have 3 awards that we give out: the Sandra Day O'Connor Lifetime Achievement Award. And Justice Sandra Day O'Connor was the first recipient of that award. So it's still given in her name.
Oh,
She
nice.
lets us use her name. And then we have the Voice of Women Award and the Marilyn R. Seaman Award, and she's our founder. So we bring in a lot of money each year. It's really our primary revenue source. So it's a big event.
Big
Yes.
event. Do you have a date for that yet, or is it still up in the air? Is it going to be Is it going to be warm or hot outside?
Well, it's going to be it's going to be before April. It's
Okay.
probably going to be March. It's
So it'll
usually around
be
March.
a little nice. It'll be nice outside.
Yeah,
then. Yeah.
But we usually have some pretty high profile honorees, so it's really working with them to figure out what
Okay.
date's going to work. So
Okay, awesome.
Stay
Well, we
tuned.
can't wait to hear what that's going to be
Yeah.
like. Be sure and let us know so we can update our
Yes.
pages as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, Dan, can you tell us what the benefit of pre-planning your funeral and cemetery arrangements would be?
Well, I mentioned a little while ago about peace of mind. One of the things that we encourage families to do, and that is to talk about what it is that they think they would want for their funeral. You're going to get a lot of different answers, and certainly guys are a lot, they think they're funny.
Yeah.
And they say, well, just put me out by the curb with the trash.
Right,
and,
right. Lean me up against the TV,
Yeah,
whatever.
you ask them, well, would you do that for your wife? And they say, oh, well, of course not.
God, no.
Of course, they don't admit that in front of their wife. But we believe that pre-planning gives them the opportunity to talk about the subject when they're not dealing with a loss. And we refer to that as the worst day of their life. I can't imagine anything that's any worse than that. But you're not thinking clearly. A lot of times people tend to overspend in those situations. So when you have presence of mind to talk about and plan and organize and prepay, there's certainly advantages to prepaying
I imagine.
for that funeral because, for one thing, you know what you're paying for. The other thing is that it locks that price in so that you never pay more. So if you don't use it, and that is one of the nice things about our pre-planning is you don't have to use it right away. We will honor the products and services that were purchased at that time with no additional cost.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice little bonus. I never thought about that. Like if you pre-planned your funeral, I don't know, like if you were in your 30s and didn't die till you were in your 80s, then that's a 50 years of some big time cost rising there.
Pretty good investment.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly a way to save some money. That's for sure, right, Riss?
Yeah, absolutely. Do funeral costs typically rise every year?
Typically, they do in some ways. The average funeral over the years estimate that they double about every 15 years. So,
wow.
It's like anything else. The cost of goods and services go up, and they tend to follow what our current economic situations are. So,
I see. Well, Megan, is there anything coming up this year that you're especially excited about?
Well, I touched a little bit on it's our 25th anniversary, so we're trying to have some special stuff for that. 2020 is also the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment passing, so that's big for us. So we're trying to do some stuff just to celebrate the milestones of when it became legal for us to vote in the country. So it's pretty exciting. There's a lot of organizations doing some stuff to highlight that. So
yeah, definitely. Do you guys have anything special planned, or are you going to surprise us?
Probably surprise you. We have a lot of surprises throughout the year.
That's awesome. Is there anything personally that you're excited for this next year?
I'm just excited for the team we have right now. We just actually did a recent personality survey, I guess. It was called the Culture Index. And it's my boss, Misha, and then Ellen and myself. And we found out we are all the perfect matches to be working together.
How convenient.
Yeah. So I think that was all like really good motivation for us to be like, yes, we're on the right path this year. It's going to be better than ever. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
And what about the culture? Do you love the culture where you work?
Yeah. Yeah. We work in a philanthropic co-working center. So we have a couple nonprofits all in our office. So we have Arizona Grantmakers Forum, Rodell Foundation, and Social Venture Partners, all in our little suite, and Common Sense Media.
Oh, nice.
So it's great being able to work with other nonprofits, see what they're doing, their messaging, and we help each other out. Like we always have each other. We're having an event. We need some heavy lifters.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
We all try to give a helping hand.
That's really cool to be able to have that. That's awesome.
That's great.
So, Dan, could you tell us what separates Dignity from other providers that are available out there that do what you guys do?
Well, I think that one of the primary things is our size. There's a certain economics of scale with that, but I think that our company attracts some of the best professionals in the company or in the country in the profession. We have a lot of training that we require, continuous and continuing education. There's licensure required in some of our segments of our business, in our funeral segment in particular. There's licensure required. We're on the cutting edge of most things. We're trendsetters, so we find that the profession a lot of times wants to see what we're doing so that they know what they should be doing next.
Oh, nice. That's always good to be ahead of that.
Well, it is. It is. And it's hard work to earn that following. But we have, and part of that is being involved at the local level or in our state associations. I've been active and involved in every state that I've worked in with the company, and it's rewarding, it's enriching, and I've learned a lot. And again, being involved and being a part of the community. A lot of people see it as a negative to be a large corporation, but actually we staff our locations with local people. You know, I've grown up and been in the Phoenix area most of my life.
Oh, nice!
And many of the people who work at the location that I work at, Sunland Memorial Park Mortuary and Cremation Center,
which is a gorgeous,
are the same.
gorgeous
Well,
location.
Thank you very much. We have our little lake and
it
our
is
swans.
Beautiful.
And,
oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I just want to go there and meditate. I think
it's Sun City's best kept secret.
It
actually.
is beautiful.
It really is. There's
it is
no frontage.
beautiful.
You have to know it's there.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, when Susan and I went, that's Wes's wife, Susan, we went to visit Debbie over at that location, and driving in, I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, and I've driven by there before and it kind of caught my eye, but It was just, it's very peaceful. It's absolutely beautiful. The grounds are well kept, and it's inviting. Even when you walk in the building as well, it was very inviting, and the whole process that we went through, because we did a little mock appointment, it was eye-opening, number one, and it just made me realize how many people out there probably don't have that stuff thought about, because you don't think about that, and you don't get up in the morning and think, well, I'm going to die one day. Maybe I'll just get my crap together today and go plan my funeral. Nobody thinks about that.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it.
We don't want to talk about death. We don't want to talk about, and I'm here to tell you that that they make it talkable. Right. You can go and you can be comfortable in that position, and they make you feel comfortable. I can probably be talking for Susan as well, because I walked out just going, oh, okay, well, I need to go talk to my husband a little bit about this. So it was very comforting. I wanted to ask you too, how does one get involved in this type of business? I mean, you said that you've been involved in this business for 50 years. How did you get involved in this business?
Well, my story is probably a little bit different, but I started out in the municipal sector, and I was newly married. Mm-hmm. I needed a job. I was working for the street department for the city of Lewiston in Lewiston, Idaho, and this was in 1970. And as far as I knew, I was always going to work on the street department. I was going to run the grader and the backhoe and a roller and all of that kind of stuff and work on the street crew.
But what a fun job, though, too.
Well, it was. It was. I enjoyed the work.
Yeah.
And one day, the superintendent of the street department came up to me and said, the city manager wants to talk to you. And I said, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? Well, I'm a 20-year-old kid. And my mind goes, the first thing is that I did something wrong. Yeah. Well, I hadn't. I'd done something right, actually. And when I met with the city manager, he said that your supervisor has recommended you for the manager of our cemetery. Well, I didn't even know the city had a cemetery.
Oh, wow.
So I was kind of intrigued by it. I needed full-time work. So we talked. And I went home and I talked to my wife, and she said, ew. And she did that for about the first 20 years.
Oh, wow.
But no, she thought that was kind of creepy. But I said, well, honey, I need full-time work.
Do you think money's creepy?
Yeah, exactly. So they hired me as the assistant superintendent to the assistant superintendent.
Okay.
Now, I had a title.
You had a title.
I didn't make a lot of money, but I did have a title. And I did that for about 9 months, and then they promoted me to the superintendent position, which in the municipal sector, that is a manager, kind of like a general manager, and actually is a department head within the city.
And this is in Idaho.
And this is in Idaho, and that's where I started, and I was there until 1975, and then went to Greeley, Colorado, and became a superintendent of a municipal cemetery there as well. So I guess it was just kind of blind luck.
Yeah.
I had a curiosity about it, which I find most people do have. Yeah. And, the rest is kind of history. I can't imagine doing anything else. I love what I do.
That's awesome.
And who I work for.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool to hear. Now, how did you get involved with Dignity? How did that come about?
Well, I had a guy call me. I had moved from Greeley, Colorado to Columbus, Ohio.
By this point, you've made a name for yourself in the business, clearly.
I don't know. I think that, maybe that was the beginning of the witness protection program, but by attending some of the annual conventions that they had for our profession, I met some people.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I held some offices within the organization. Was approached to look at a opportunity in the Columbus area. It's a large cemetery, 341 acres.
Oh, wow.
Huge.
That's huge.
It was just absolutely huge. Funeral directors didn't like to come in alone because they would get lost, literally, and couldn't find their way out.
Oh, wow.
But I had a friend of mine call me and say, hey, Dan, I'm working for this company now, and you really need to give them a thought because they're looking for an office manager. And I said, well,
I'm not an office manager.
I'm not looking for a job. Really, I've got a job. He says, well, just talk to him. So I did. I flew to Houston. I met with the president of the company at that time, and he offered me the job while I was there. And I said, well, I need to think about it. I'd like to talk to my wife. And he told me that, well, he says, I've learned that if a man can't make up his mind in 24 hours, he can't make up his mind. So, no pressure. But I did end up taking the job.
Okay.
And I was hired as the regional operations manager for 6 cemeteries
Holy moly.
in Florida.
Oh,
And that grew into 9 cemeteries, and then it grew into 50 cemeteries.
Wow.
And our company at that time was going through a real growing spurt, and we were acquiring pretty rapidly. And I was a part of that. I ended up as the operations manager for the east part of the United States.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And then that's how Dignity came in, or was
Dignity-
that Dignity?
We had not branded ourselves with
Okay.
the Dignity name at
Got
that
it.
time.
Okay,
We
okay.
were Service Corporation International, but then the Dignity brand came along, and then we've identified with that brand.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's, I've worked with a lot of Dignity Memorial when I lived in San Diego, and it is the name itself describes it. It's dignity. You get to have dignity when you go in and plan your funeral, and the family gets to go through it with dignity. And it really is the perfect name for your company. It's what a great story. Thank you for sharing
Sure.
that.
Megan, tell us about some of the organizations that you were awarded grants to this year.
Sure. So recently we've actually been doing grant tours of these organizations, actually going there. So we have visited, where do we start? Always, which is Arizona Legal Women and Youth Services.
Oh, nice.
So they provide low cost and free legal services to women and young women, whether it's they might have like a sex trafficking charge, or they're trying to criminal history repair, just anything legal. They
Okay.
provide for
Can you tell
homeless
us
women.
what that stands for again? Arizona
Okay. Arizona Legal
Legal.
Women and Youth Services.
Okay.
So read through it.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, always. Same.
Got it.
Yeah, but some great other places. Maggie's Place
Okay.
here in Phoenix. So they provide, like everything for pregnant mothers and mothers with their newborn babies.
Aw.
And they allow them to live in the house for when the babies are up to a year old. So they make sure they're able to set up childcare, make sure they have employment or they're not underemployed. And they provide them with everything. It's community living, and they have AmeriCorps volunteers in the house helping the women. Even if they just need to run out to the store, they can watch the baby. So they're awesome. They're really
that's
great.
nice.
Oh, we have a lot. Alice's Place and Time Out are both domestic violence shelters. Alice's Place is in Winslow, and Time Out is in Payson. So we're really trying to diversify where we grant to, not just in Phoenix. We want to support other places out in Williams, Yuma, all around the state, because we are Arizona Foundation for
Right.
Women.
Exactly.
so-
The whole state.
Yeah, but there are so many great places. Impact One Breast Cancer Foundation, Arrowette Foundation, which Arrowette they provide like economic training for women in the
Mhm.
prison system
Okay.
here. So they're rather new, but they're doing great things.
Oh, nice.
And we're visiting them this Thursday, actually.
Oh, great.
So-
What are you guys going to do there when you go?
I think we're going to check out the training program they have,
Mhm.
and speak to some of the women that have been through the program. Live and Learn is also another great one. They help women find careers, not just jobs, like
Yeah.
careers. And we actually had a woman who went through the program speak with us last time, and just the stories. And they'll make sure women have bus passes to get to their jobs. But, public transportation here is a real barrier for a lot of women. There's one woman who she was in a domestic violence situation. She moved with her 2 young kids to Apache Junction, and then was in this program called Year Up, which is you have to be every day at this training. It's like college classes. So she was walking to a bus stop, getting up at 2:30 in the morning, walking with her kids to a bus stop in Mesa, riding the bus, drop the kids off at daycare, then going to classes by 8 a.m., I think it was. So from 2:30 to 8 a.m.,
That
attending
was
classes,
just travel.
then doing a whole thing in reverse, and wasn't getting home till like 9 at night.
Mm.
But it's incredible, like the dedication these women have.
Yeah.
And there was another young woman we spoke to, she said, I had my kid young and never really had a job or career.
Yeah.
And then she went through this program at Live and Learn, and she just graduated with her bachelor's degree
Aw.
from ASU. Both of her kids are in like private schools. And it's just crazy to see. Like
That's
they
so
just need a
cool.
lot of it's just confidence boost.
Sounds like life made to order stories.
Yeah,
I love it.
definitely. You know,
I
a
love
lot
it.
of these women are just saying, you know, I never thought that college was an option for me. I never thought I would be working at Chase Bank, like big corporate places. And they're like, a lot of it's just confidence. You can do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really great.
How does it work? So let's say a woman gets in trouble in a domestic violence situation, and she needs to reach out to someone. Is there an 800 number that you have, and then you assess her situation and then place her in a program that works for her specifically, or how does it work?
Yeah. So, we ourselves, we don't provide any direct services.
Okay.
But I get a lot of phone calls, so we direct them to other places.
Got it.
Arizona Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence
Okay.
is great. They have their own hotline. 211 is another number.
Okay.
A New Leaf also has great resources.
Yep, they've been mentioned on our show before.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so they have their own sort of, even if there aren't room in
Yeah.
a domestic violence shelter, they'll make sure you at least get like a hotel voucher.
Got it.
Just so if you need to get out, you can get out.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people doing
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. That
But
sounds
there's
like it.
I still get so many calls. So
Well,
sad,
I'll tell
yeah.
you, I mean, I'm sure they Google search something for women, and
Yeah.
it's I wanted to ask Dan too, have you ever heard of Arizona Foundation for Women? Because one of our goals on the show too is to connect the people that come on, and possibly so that you guys could maybe do some collaboration in the future too. So keep that in mind as you go on.
I have.
And
I have
awesome.
heard of them.
Fantastic.
As a matter of
I
fact,
love it.
my daughter is a independently licensed clinical social worker, so she's familiar with their.
Oh,
with their
nice.
program.
See how that works? I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, small world.
Small world. I
Yeah,
love it.
As you were talking, lately we've been focusing a lot on like caregiving, and usually it's women that are caregivers for their parents or whatever. But dealing with that end of life stuff and making sure that's planned out. We've been having a ladies leaving legacy session, which is kind of focused on insurance. For now, life insurance, making sure your benefits, but it all goes along with that.
It does.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be great to have like Dan or even Debbie come and speak for you guys.
Absolutely.
I think that would be awesome.
That would be really
Yeah.
great information to have out there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, Dan, it seems that cremation is very common nowadays.
It is.
And some may say it's a trend, but would you agree with that? And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I said it was a trend 40 years ago,
Yeah.
and I was wrong. I said it'll never take off. It'll never be popular.
Oh.
And wow.
Yeah.
I think probably one thing I've been the most wrong about in my whole life. In 1972, the cremation rate where I was at was about 2%.
Wow.
And in that little town, now it's pushing 80%.
Holy moly.
It's over 70% in the Phoenix metro. And it's just something that we've had to adapt to, especially old guys like me who've been in this profession forever.
Yeah.
It's different, and we have to keep up with what our families want instead of us trying to tell them what they want, listen to them, and help them through the process.
Yeah.
So many people we find look at cremation, though, as the final step or the final process, the final disposition, if you will, and it's not. Disposition means that, and I'm not up on my Greek or root words, but disposition has in it dispose or dispose of in some way. We choose to use the word memorialization. And I have a sad story that I tell. And when I moved from Phoenix in 2012 and was looking for a home in Dallas, we went into a home that was empty. It had been cleaned out, cleaned up for a showing. And I walk into a bedroom and I walk into the closet and I notice up on the top shelf in the bedroom a canister holding the cremated remains of an individual.
Wow.
And I'm not judging. I'm really not, because life happens and things happen, and you have one who's passed, and then maybe the next one passes, and that's the end of a line.
Yeah.
And it may be that the person just didn't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
Well, I did, and we did, but that's all too often that happens at the end of life. I understand the process, and I understand maybe wanting to take your loved one home with you and have those remnants of that family member in your presence. But the next step is, okay, what are you going to do with them when you're gone?
Yeah.
And that's what we like to educate people on.
Because they're
and
just
that is
going to
their
sit
options.
there. I mean,
Well, they will, and leave them to the kids. Well, what are the kids going to do with
Yeah.
them? They don't know what to do with them. So we encourage families to
here's your
memorialize.
great-great-grandfather passed down from...
He loved to travel.
Yeah. Yeah, just
Yeah,
take him with you everywhere.
Can you scatter the ashes?
Well, scattering is fairly popular in some instances, and a lot of our families do that. Be careful
Yeah.
when you do that you know that it's okay to scatter the remains where you scatter them, because a lot of times you're on private land, private property.
Mm-hmm.
But if you scatter them on your property, when you sell the home, you have to disclose that. A lot of people don't know that. So, we'll just bury Dad in the backyard.
Yeah, it's not like burying animals in the backyard or
Well,
something.
you have to disclose that too.
You have to let them...
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But-
little TT is buried in the backyard. There.
Yeah.
Beware.
But think it through to the end, and that's
Yeah.
what we help families do,
Yeah.
is to tell them what their options are. And unless they talk with us, they don't know.
That's
So,
true. It's
yeah.
true. And, and I didn't know either. And when Susan and I went in for our mock appointment, it was really eye-opening that there are some cool things that you can do with ashes nowadays. Like there's some really, really neat, inexpensive ways to memorialize your loved ones and possibly have something better than a thing of ashes. You could have a glass piece full of ashes, which looks
You
really
can.
beautiful and amazing. And
Well,
so
and we have what we call an ossuary, where cremated remains are placed with other cremated remains. And if that doesn't creep you out, and it doesn't, many
well.
people, it's a place to be a receptacle for the cremated remains, and you can memorialize those that loved one on a
and then go
cenotaph.
visit.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
a place to
Nice.
go.
Nice. I like that
Nice,
because
yeah.
it's not. And do you think it's become such a trend because of finances, maybe with people, or
Not necessarily. I've seen families spend as much money
On a cremation
on
as
a
they would.
cremation as they would
Mhm.
a non cremation, or what we call casketed burial. So,
what do you think caused the trend? It's interesting.
well,
huh?
I think I'm thinking that there's a certain perceived ease and convenience
Yeah.
of doing it, and Bob and Mary did it.
Yeah, Bob and
So-
Mary did it.
Yeah,
My
Yeah.
dad wanted me to. So my dad was 50 when I was born, and he lived until I was 34. And he talked about death. I don't know, that last 8 years he was alive, and how he wanted to be buried. And I want to be buried green. And I go, Dad, they don't do that anymore. They don't. Just dig a hole and put me in it. That's what I want. And I was like, Dad, they don't do that anymore. And he's like, well, I'm going to have John Robert. John Robert was my son. I'm going to have John Robert build me a casket. I'm like, that's kind of morbid, Dad. I'm just saying that's a little morbid. Well, I don't want to be embalmed, and I don't want to. And I'm like, okay, well, then we'll cremate. No, I don't want that either. I'm like, oh, what do you want from me? I don't know what you want. And, when he passed, it took a few days for me to get back to where he was, and they ended up embalming him. And it was the craziest thing when I walked into, because it was my hometown. I grew up with the people. I went to school with the person who was in charge of the funeral home. And when I walked in, I never will forget seeing my dad lie there, and I could just feel him behind me going, you embalmed me. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. But you didn't tell me what else to do. And, if I would have had that pre-plan, I thought about that day we were in the office. Just would have made all the difference.
Well, you were truly blessed to have had the conversations that you did.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily what you were wanting to hear,
Yeah.
but that's that's kind of what he wanted, or he thought that he wanted, and he did the just bury me in the backyard, that kind of thing. But my dad, he was 84 when he passed, and I could never get him to talk about it ever. And we ended up doing what we thought he would have wanted. We didn't know for sure, but we did the best we could with the information we had, which was zero.
Yeah.
And all too often our families find themselves in that situation is they just never talked about it. So they really didn't know. And then they go on and say, well, I wonder if that's what Dan would have wanted.
Let this be a lesson learned out there, listeners. Let this be a lesson learned. Talk about it. Get it out.
Yeah. I'm
Do
so
it.
grateful. Like, I grew up, our family meetings were at the cemetery.
Yeah.
That's like every time
we
we
did
go
too.
back,
Ours was too.
every holiday. We love the cemetery. It's like our family gathering spot. We go, people I never met. We tour all their headstones. We leave things. So we're just so vocal about it all the time. And I'm bugging my parents. I'm like, all right, what's your plan?
What's your plan?
My grandparents have their plot. I don't see yours yet. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But it really changes everything in like a family dynamic, being able to talk about that.
Well, keep gently nudging them, because it is good for them to do, because if they don't, then it's going to fall on you. You're going to have to make those decisions.
Well, Meghan, I hear you have the 2020 Status of Women in Arizona Research Report. That's a lot of report.
Yeah. It's a lot of pages.
I don't know if we have enough time for you to read that all.
And the release is coming out next year. What can we expect from that?
Yeah, so we try to release this report every 3 to 4 years, just to give a refresh on the metrics and see how far we've moved the needle. So it compares stats for women in the U.S. versus here in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
So we see where we rank, if we've moved up, if we've moved down in some spots, where we need to, really advocate for. So we have some great subject matter experts that are working with us for this research report in the categories of safety, health, and economic empowerment. So we're going to be focusing on access to health in rural areas here in Arizona.
Oh, nice.
Is really interesting, because we have some places where you have to travel miles and miles.
Miles and miles.
Yeah,
say Apache Junction.
Yeah, just to get like healthcare, caregiving, making sure women are able to get their children into daycare or have stuff set up so that they can work and be the best and provide best for their family. Orders of protection. And then we just sort of do basic domestic violence stats, reported cases, really the whole
cremation stats. I don't know. I'm just
that could be interesting.
That would be interesting.
We are starting to look at especially elder care, and it's usually left up to women, and so
as well, really women do live longer too.
Yes, that too, live longer. Yeah. So we end up having to do all the care for everybody else,
for ourselves, and then
we're starting to look into that angle.
Who takes care of us? Right at the end. Arizona Foundation for Women, that's who, right?
Yeah, so it'll be available on our website. So
awesome. Awesome. Do you know when that's going to be available? Is it like January 2020 or?
January, February 2020.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So Dan, I want to get back to this. So this whole cremation thing, what are the options that you have? I know I mentioned one, but what are some of the options that you have, some other options that you have for people who do want to use cremation to memorialize their loved ones?
Well, one of the things that I'm noticing is that we're having more and more what I call split families. When you say split families, you think of something
in a
else.
nice way. In a nice way.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
But we have families, for an example, that the husband doesn't want to be cremated and the wife wants to be cremated.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Oh,
it's
well,
not
there
a
you
problem.
go.
Not a problem. And we're finding that to be the case more often. So you can scatter the cremated remains, which we don't necessarily encourage. You can bury the cremated remains in the ground, or inter the cremated remains in the ground. You can put them in a columbarium, in a niche. You can have a glass front niche, and you can actually decorate the inside of the glass front with various memorabilia that things that were important to that person. Tells a little story about their life. You can put them in a mausoleum crypt, and you can put the casketed remains of him in, and her cremated remains in together, so that they can be together. So We see a lot of those kinds of trends. There's a lot of different types of burial options. Neptune Society, for an example, which is part of our company, and they have a reef off the coast of Florida where you can have your cremated remains mixed with concrete and actually become part of the structure.
That is so cool.
The city of Atlantis under the ground.
What?
Which, yes.
That is
Absolutely.
awesome.
Google it. Yeah.
Is that like a
Do you have
cost a fortune?
Do you have the Viking cremation where they push you out on a boat, and light you on fire?
We don't advertise that one, but come see me after the We've got a little lake there on the property there at Sunland.
We don't tell anybody what's in that lake.
Well,
so.
there's very little we can't do. We're only limited by your imagination.
I see.
And money, obviously. But we do get some unusual requests.
What's the craziest one you ever gotten? What's the craziest request you ever got?
We had a family that had a chimp that was a movie chimp.
This is going to be good.
And the chimp, and I'm sorry I don't remember its name, was near death. And they wanted to be buried with the chimp.
Okay.
And we do happen to have a pet cemetery.
Nice.
At Sunland. It's just, it is separate, but it's a beautiful little cemetery.
Aww.
And they wanted to be buried with their pet. Well, we said, we can't do that. They said, well, how about if you bury the chimp with us in the human cemetery? Well, we can't do that either, unfortunately. Part of that is regulated by law, but part of it is regulated by policy and what our policy is, and the reverence of the human,
right?
The human body, and what goes with that. It is becoming more and more popular. However, it's a multi-billion-dollar business, and that is pet services, just like adult services. Yeah. But that's probably the most unusual. Well, no, it's not either. I'm not.
You have one that tops that?
I have one that tops that.
I knew it.
I won't say where, but we had a family that the husband and wife wanted to be entombed together in the same casket.
Well, I wouldn't say that was
if they both go at the same time.
That's easy,
That's
what's the plan here,
bad.
husband? I mean,
but it didn't go that way. And we went through our legal department, and we made it happen for them.
Oh, nice.
We did, and it was done very tastefully, very dignified. But we try never to say no to a family in terms of what their wishes are, and we can make it happen some way.
Oh, that's good. So, that's good.
Now I forgot where I was at. Meghan, can you tell us a little bit about the history of your organization?
Sure. So we were started in 1995. Our founder, Marilyn Seaman, her and I guess a group of her friends really started to notice that there wasn't a lot of state support for women and women funding. I think it was only 4% of giving was going to women's foundations. So they really just decided to start it themselves. And ever since then, we go through ebbs and flows. We'll be really focused on advocacy for a while. So we had bunch of stuff. We had billboards around the valley doing advocacy campaigns. Philanthropy, we were giving out a lot in grants. We've given out about $2 million in grants over the almost 25 years.
Wow.
And right now, we're really trying to build up our endowment so that we can continue to give bigger grants and keep growing and support and reach more women. So,
and that 2020 award luncheon is one of those things that builds that endowment route.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What other services are offered by Dignity Memorial, Dan, besides what you've already mentioned?
Well, some things that are ancillary actually to the funeral or ceremony is that we've become, in an effort to meet a need, we have offered catering to our families. We don't cater outside of our family network, but we offer that to our families, and that came as a result of our listening to what they wanted. 99% of the time, these families were leaving our funeral homes or cemeteries and going to Ponderosa or Steak and Ale or wherever. They were going somewhere to eat.
What is that? The Roost? What is that? The
Rustler's Roost.
Rustler's Roost?
Yep.
I see a lot of families up there too.
And so we saw a need that wasn't being met, and we offered cater receptions for our families, and it makes sense because everybody's there.
Yep. Why lose them?
And we found that to be very well received by our families.
You have a great room for that too.
We do.
Yeah,
we really
wonderful.
do. The Sunland room.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And we also are very active and involved with our military, our military families, and Veterans Day, Memorial Day. Those are big days for us, and we have a ceremony that's put on. Actually, our Sunland, we work with the Northwest Valley Veterans Association, and every year we put those two events on. And this last year, I think it probably was partially due to the beautiful weather we had that day, but we had a bunch of people there. I mean, it was really popular, and we feed them.
Nice.
Too. So
why didn't
after
we get an invite to
that,
Debbie?
I don't know.
I don't think we need.
Consider yourself invited.
We'll have to do that next time. That's awesome.
But it's our way to be able to give back a little bit to those men and women who serve and protect us and give us the freedoms that we have.
Now, you guys have some special programs for veterans as well, as far as setting up for memorials and whatnot, VA associations. Tell us a little bit about that.
We offer through our pre-planning segment of our business, and that is actually what Debbie does. Debbie Donahue. She works in our pre-planning as a pre-planning advisor, and we do have seminars where we send a written invitation to veterans who have served, and we invite them in and we sit down and we talk to them about the veterans' benefits that they think they get.
Perfect.
And many of them are very surprised because it's very different from what they thought that it was or what they had heard that it was. So we educate that consumer.
Okay.
And we do quite a bit of that. We do a lot of grassroots events where we'll just send out invitations, just kind of a lunch and learn, come and sit down and visit with us and talk to us about the advantages of pre-planning and what that entails and what that involves. There's no cost, there's no obligation. We feed them most of the time whenever we do that, and it seems to be well received in the community.
Of course, I bet it does. I bet it does.
We also participate in a program where we provide services at no charge to veterans who are homeless veterans.
Oh, okay.
And there's quite an outreach in large metropolitan areas, and I think we've become known as a company that does provide this service. And I'm sorry I don't have some of the numbers on it, but
that's okay.
But I'm thinking we probably do hundreds of those.
At the end,
a
we're
year.
gonna give you an opportunity to give us some information about how to reach out to you.
Okay,
and then
great.
If people want to know more information about that, they can reach out to you with that as well.
Good.
So, Meghan, what are some goals down the road for Arizona Foundation for Women?
Oh, well, we're really trying to expand outside the valley.
Okay.
Right now, we're
in other surrounding areas like Payson, Winslow.
Yeah, exactly. Especially up north, Sedona, Flagstaff, all up there, trying to see if we can do like an ambassador program and have events outside of the valley too, just to make sure we're reaching all the needs and we're addressing all the needs of women around the state, because it's very different.
Yeah.
Up north versus here versus southern Arizona. It really varies, and make sure we're focusing on the right things that are really impacting women right now, so we can start getting to work on those.
Awesome. So if you, I'm going to ask you guys one last question, and then we're going to wrap up for the day. Could you tell us maybe perhaps your life made to order moment or some synchronicity that happened during your tenure with the companies that you're with that would qualify as, oh my gosh, that was just so awesome. I would love to have more of that, please, because that's what we like to focus on here. Meghan?
Oh gosh. Take a second.
Let me think about that. Do you know, Dan, off the top of your head? Would you?
Well, I can think of one thing that happens, and it's quite often actually. We have families who come up to us after a service and actually thank us for pushing them a little bit to pre-plan, that it made it so much easier for them, and they just couldn't thank us enough how much it meant to them that we were persistent, and we can be. Yeah, we can be persistent.
Well, I mean, it's an important thing, and a lot of people don't realize that, I guess.
Well, and I think it's the one thing that keeps me coming back to, and it is seeing those families who make it through a very difficult process and know that we had a part in that.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Yeah. More of that, please. Megan?
All right, I have my answer.
Okay, awesome.
I think visiting the places that we've granted out funds to, and even if to us, we're like, I wish we could have given so much more money, how many more women, but then we go to the place and it's so amazing to see how far they make that money stretch and how many women are able to get help just from, in our eyes, we're like, we need to do more. We need to give out more money. But the women are just so grateful for any little bit that we're able to help the organization helping them. So.
That's great. That's awesome. More of that, please. Yes. That's awesome. Well, we'd like to thank our guests today, Miss Meghan Adams and Dan Salter. Could you tell us how to get in touch with you, Megan, please?
Sure. So you can call our office, 602-532-2800. Whether if you're just interested in getting involved, volunteering, or if you yourself are in need of resources and need help for where to turn. And we also have an email address, just info@azfw.org.
Awesome. And you guys are on Facebook too, right?
Yes, we are.
Awesome.
All the social media.
Awesome. Mr. Dan, how can we get in touch with you?
Well, you can get in touch with me by calling my office. It's 623-933-0161. And or you can reach me at daniel.salter@dignitymemorial.com. Or if you're in the listening area, you can go onto dignity.com, and it'll give you a zip code option, and it will direct you to the closest
there you go. And you guys can go visit Sunland.
I want to visit that one. Yeah. It's like I wrote that down.
It is gorgeous.
And of course, I wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for the invitation of Debbie. So I want to give her kudos, Debbie Donahue, for suggesting that I might do this. I don't know if this is
no, do it. Tell us how to get a hold of Debbie.
But
Tell
her
us how to
number
get a
is
hold of Debbie.
480-329-9832. So thank you, Debbie.
Awesome. So we'd also like to thank our beautiful Miss Karen Nowicki with Phoenix Business Radio X. She is the president and owner right here at Mac 6 Conscious Workspace for this opportunity. And also a special thanks to our sponsor, Team Referral Network, Phoenix.
Life Made to Order Financial Phoenix specializes in teaching folks instead of telling them what to do with their finances by hosting live workshops across the country. Virtual workshops are also available multiple times a week.
Please visit lmtopxevents.com to see which workshop can fit into your schedule.
No risk. There are no fees. Safe retirement's done with ease.
You can also follow us on social media. Search on Facebook, Life Made to Order Radio PHX. Our Instagram handle is LMTO_radio_PHX. If you have Podbean, our channel is Life Made to Order. And we have also, surprise, surprise, added our YouTube channel to the mix. So search LMTO Radio Phoenix in YouTube and check us out on there. You can also see our podcast from there.
So tune in next month on July 23rd at 1 p.m. And then, until then, live your life made to order.